Crime is everywhere and constantly on the rise. Quick and easy cases are solved daily, but what about those more sinister and cold cases that remain to be solved? Join Ashley Marino as she dives into the horror of some of these cases and sheds some light on what is truly behind the realm of darkness. Here is your host, Ashley Marino.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to Realm of Darkness. We're going to do a little bit different tonight. We normally talk either true crime or, some type of paranormal. We're still going to kind of stick with the paranormal a little bit, but just recently we had a new member join Haunted Travels, which is a team that I founded with my co-founder, Jason Baker, who is an incredible photographer. But we recently had someone join, and I kind of wanted her to come on tonight so you guys could get to know her, hear a little bit about what she's done, some of her experiences in the paranormal, and just really get to know some of the team members. So let's just bring her on. Her name's Kayla. Everyone, welcome Kayla.
Hi guys.
Hello. How are you?
I'm great. How are you?
I am good. Before we start, though, because we're both Ohioans, so I just want to say for anybody that is in Ohio or any of our Northeast Ohioans, I've been watching the news and I saw that there was tornadoes and severe weather and tennis ball size hail. So I just hope everybody's safe and all of your assets are safe, your family's safe, your pets are safe. So I'm thinking about you guys and I hope everyone's okay.
Absolutely. That's scary.
It is. And I was sitting there thinking, like, we're both from Ohio. We're probably watching the news like, oh, my God. I know I was watching it because it was heading this way. And I'm like, I told my husband, I'm like, if it gets crazy, bust in and I'll tell Todd I got to go. Like, I got to hit the basement. You guys got to finish without me. But let's get into it. So, you just recently joined Haunted Travels, which we're so excited. We think that you're going to be such a huge asset to the team. And I mean, you've already done so much with the different social medias and getting us set up, and my age shows, and you have to get, you have to help me with my socials because I don't know how to do any of it, but that's okay. Oh, great. The weather's coming, so Brian says. But what got you into the paranormal? What got you interested and made you kind of want to get in the field?
So I just remember when I was a kid, I would always watch like a haunting on TV, but I would be home alone and I'd be like terrified, absolutely terrified of everything. And then my parents would come home and they would try and scare me and I would just laugh and then be scared again. And I never wanted anything to do with it. I didn't want to be around haunted houses. I was scared. I didn't want any part of it. And I don't know what happened that I just flipped a switch and I was like, I love this. Like,
was it like
when I saw my first like person or apparition or shadow figure, like I can't even explain that feeling. Like I was truly terrified and I was like, I'm out. I grabbed my keys, didn't even turn off the lights. I'm like, I'm out of here.
So did that happen at a location you were at, or was it like at your house, or
at my best friend's house?
Really? Tell us about that.
So I was house sitting for their family and we were best friends for years. I've stayed over there plenty of times. It's the one I actually messaged you about today, who reached out to me. And I'm house sitting and I'm sitting there by myself. My best friend's at work at the time. And I see something like walk on the patio outside out of my peripheral vision. And I'm like, okay, I know something's here, but like, it was a shadow. It was, the dog walked by, reflection, TV, I don't know, something. Saw it come back the other way and just back and forth and back and forth. And then I like looked over and I saw a tall man, all black, top hat, beard, everything. Like it was Abraham Lincoln, it looked like.
Oh my gosh.
So I grabbed my stuff so quick, didn't shut off the TV, didn't shut off the lights. My best friend at the time we worked together and we worked at a restaurant and a bar and it was probably like 10 o'clock, so an hour until close. I run in the restaurant because it was like 10 minutes away from her house. And I said, I saw the groom. I can't go back. I'm not going alone. I was like, I'm done. I can't go back.
No, is that something that she's seen before too, and she's told you about it, you just never saw it?
Nope,
And
I never had any experiences there.
did they ever find out, like, what it was or who it was or what the history of the house well, I guess you know what? I don't wanna know because apparently
We
we
might
might
be
be
going.
going there. I mean, if she
Yeah.
reached out to you for help, I mean,
Yep.
that's something that, especially being one of your best friends, we have to get to it. So,
So they think they had like a hutch that's very, very old. And I think they said that it was there when they moved in.
oh,
So they're thinking that it could be related. So the mom has seen the bride. So we call them the bride and groom because there's a male and a female. The female's wearing a white dress, just looks like a bride. And she was physically like standing over her when she was sleeping, and she woke up and there's this like bride right in her face. Um, my best friend's daughter has seen her, and they talk all the time. She still does it to this day. I mean, this was like 5 years ago, so she was probably 3 or 4 when we found out
oh
that
god.
she was here, and she's probably 7 or 8 now.
Mhm.
She still sees her. And then the girl that reached out to me, her sister, she has I want to say 1.5, 2-year-old son. And he saw her, or he saw one of the two.
Wow,
And
so everybody has the same they all have seen the same thing. So then that right there shows that it's legitimate.
mm-hmm.
Oh
Yep.
my gosh. That's crazy. And I know that you've gone to a couple events and you've gone to a couple different locations. So far, do you have a favorite location yet?
Bill Manor.
Really? Okay. I
Yes.
was kind of hoping you were gonna bring that one up
Yes.
since that's kind of where, like,
Absolutely.
our whole friendship was kindred.
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because I think Brian's watching, so you are definitely gonna have to tell that whole story. But, you guys, so Kayla and I have known each other, we have mutual friends and things like that, but we finally got to investigate together at a location called Bill Manor in Fremont, Ohio. And, my husband's from Fremont, and they have a bunch of really cool things there. Rutherford B. Hayes, his mansion and his museum is there. And it's actually right across the street from Bell Manor. And, Kayla came out and investigated with us, and it was, us and some mutual friends. And instantly, I'm telling you guys, instantly, the minute we walked in this house, we were setting up equipment and we couldn't get it set up quick enough. Things were going off. We were taking I don't think I've ever taken so many breaks in a
Yeah.
location. We were sitting outside
Yeah.
and the doors were slamming shut behind us.
The door opened before we even got in there and set up.
Even the footage that when you first walk in the front door, my camera that I had sitting there. Yeah,
Nope.
that's true. We didn't even have our equipment in yet. Yeah, and the door opens. But that camera that I had right inside the front door, I was watching footage on it the other day, and it literally was the first 5 minutes. The cat ball going up the stairs went off at least 7 times. And we were nowhere to be found.
Mm-mm.
You couldn't hear us, no footsteps, nothing. And you guys, for anybody who hasn't been there, because it is kind of like an upcoming location, it's this massive mansion.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, Kayla, do you want to describe it to everybody and kind of like what it looked like? And
yeah, so if you just picture like a very old, I want to say like kind of Victorian style house, but the pictures don't do it justice. It is huge. I mean, there's like a servant headquarters on the one side and like a living, like another couple bedrooms on one side. It's ginormous. I mean, there's 3 floors, the basement, the first
and the
floor,
attic.
second floor.
Yeah, 4 floors
4
altogether.
floors. And there was, God, I can't even remember how many bedrooms, like 5.
Oh gosh, there were
at least.
Well,
There's
it
Clarence's
was
room.
Yeah, because when you walked in, there was the parlor on one side, the parlor on the other, then a dining room that went into like a pantry, like an old pantry, guys. That's like the real long one with the cabinets, into the kitchen, which then went into the servants' quarters, the garage, and the basement. And then there were like 2 bathrooms on another side. And then like this giant stairwell that kind of went up and around into like a landing. And from there were 1, 2, 3, I think 3 bedrooms, and then down a hallway, there were more bedrooms. And I mean, this place was gigantic.
Yeah.
And it was originally used as I want to say a halfway house, but not in like the correctional side. It was
Right.
more of like a children's home, children who their parents had been killed in battle, because there was Battle Stevenson that happened in Fremont. So a lot of the children that lost their parents, children who were bad where their parents didn't want them. It was also a men's facility for a while for people who had mental illness, Down syndrome, things that they just didn't understand yet. So, and then it was also a funeral home.
Yep. I was going to say it was a funeral home too.
Yeah. So it was crazy. It was a bunch of different things.
And it was active.
It was. And I know when we first got there, we kind of had a similar experience that no one else in our group really felt. If you want to kind of tell people, I mean, you can be honest. I don't care.
To sum it up. So before we even got to this house, we went out for dinner. We went for pizza. We get to the house. We're doing our tour. And then we start setting up. And, Ashley is very skilled, very talented, just beyond belief, like blew me away. And we took our first break. I'm being honest. You said be honest. But we took our first break and she was like, does anyone have Advil or Tylenol? Like, I don't feel well. Like, I might actually leave, I've never had a location make me feel this way. I don't know if like I'm actually sick or, if this is like something going on in the house.
Yeah.
Fast forward a little bit later, we're all standing in like the base camp where all the equipment was. Everything's still happening around us. But I look at Ashley and Candy and Val and I'm like, I don't know if I'm physically going to get sick one way or the other. So like my stomach is not okay. And Ashley's like, I feel the same way.
Mm-hmm.
And then a little bit later when we started the investigation, I'm like, I don't know why, but like this side of my head is just stabbing pain. And it was only on my right side. I've never had that feeling. And like I have it on footage. I was watching our footage back and you're like, yeah, that's the spirits communicating with you. And I'm like, well, they need to stop because this hurts.
Well, and it's crazy because I mean, I've been to locations like Hinsdale and Ohio State and Penn State and or Pennhurst. I don't know why I said Penn State, but I've been to Pennhurst, I've been to Gettysburg, I've been to a lot of places. And when I walked in there, I think I told you, like personally, like I feel sick. I text Brian and I'm like, I don't think I'm gonna come home. I feel that sick. My head was pounding. I felt like I was either gonna puke or the other way.
Yeah.
And at first I thought I had food poisoning, but I'm like, okay, it can't hit that fast. And I'm like, what is going on? And yeah, thank God. I mean, you gave me like 4 Advils and even that didn't work.
No.
For me, it didn't stop until scrying in that mirror. And now I know I had a different experience than Val did, but it didn't go away. And even the attic, I mean, when we were getting that tour, being in the attic alone, I remember standing next to Val and I almost grabbed her arm because I thought I was going down. Like it was purple and black and I was hot and sweaty. And I'm like, I'm going to pass out. Like, this is not normal. And you guys all looked fine. I'm like, what's wrong with? I was like, that's it. I've got COVID. I've got food poisoning. I got something. I'm going down. Like, it's not going well. But it did. After we did that very first experiment with scribing, it went away, and then I was fine. But
looking at you in the attic, it was not the person that was downstairs. You looked in that doorway. You walked over there, and it was like black and white, like total different person. I can't even explain it. I'm like, something's up there, something's going on, something's affecting you up there.
Well, and the only thing that I could think, like, just like the thoughts that were running through my head is that somebody was locked in that room. Like somebody was physically thrown in that room as punishment and locked in there. And that's why I asked the owner, I'm like, was there anybody ever like locked away in this room? And he laughed at me and he's like, yeah, there's padlocks on the doors. I'm like, well, that would explain it. I mean, it was, but
we didn't even go up there for the investigation part just because of how it was affecting the both of us. I mean, when I walked into the attic the initial time, like I didn't feel much when I first walked through the house. Like I was fine. I didn't really feel much. I was like, oh, I'm in another haunted place. Cool. This is great. This is beautiful. Physically, I didn't feel anything. And then it was when we were gathering equipment. I was up there and I don't know what happened, but I just stopped in my tracks and I'm like, I don't like it up here. I don't like it at all. Um, and then that's when the headache started getting worse and my stomach started getting worse. And I'm like, I'm going to head out.
Yeah.
Yeah. I didn't even hit that part.
Yeah, it was crazy. And so after we set up all of our equipment, we had equipment everywhere. We had static cams everywhere. Even the owner had put up security cameras, and they were legitimate security cameras because, we were 4 females in a house. And he's like, I just want to make sure you guys are okay. I'm going to check on you every so often. And when we were taking one of our breaks outside, Kayla saw your face. I love it. Kayla physically saw.
No, we were
Somebody.
setting up the first time. It was the first time when we were setting up. I went downstairs to grab something for us. All of you guys were upstairs.
I thought it was when we went outside the first time.
No, that was like the second or third time I saw something on the screen. So the first time it happened, I was downstairs grabbing something. And I just so happened to like look over in the hallway and I saw the cam. And it had like 4 different screens. So just based on where the cameras were in the house, I knew what screen to like look at and where it was located in the house. And that top corner one where we were, everyone else was, I saw someone just standing in front of the camera. And I call up to all of them and I'm like, hey, who's standing in front of the camera? And all of you were like, none of us. None of us are standing in front of the camera. I'm like, no, there's definitely someone standing in front of this camera right now. Like, there's no way. You guys are messing with me.
No. And then when we were on the porch, I remember we were talking and we were kind of on either side of the doorway and we both saw it. And that's when we like took off running inside and was like, what is that? And it was like, it was standing in that doorway upstairs watching us. And that was just really before we even fully started.
Yeah.
And then when we did go upstairs, we were first we did do scrying, which I don't recommend for people who don't really know what they're doing. It is a very interesting, I'm going to get you there one day. It is a very interesting thing, but if you're not used to it or if you're not really sure what to look for, it can be kind of scary. And so I sat down, they had candles on either side of this mirror, and the mirror is in the manor. So many people have scryed into it. So we really don't know what people have done, if they've closed it, if they haven't, that whole thing. And Kayla, I don't even know if I told you, but, in that moment I was saying, I see something behind me. I see shadows behind me. And I remember.
Yeah, you kept telling me they were coming towards me. I'm like.
Well, they were. But no, that's not even the bad part. And I remember you being like, the curtains are moving. And I think we got on camera, like the curtains like physically moving. And we were checking for, drafts and airflows and things like that. But then one of the things I saw, and I remember you being like, what? Is I saw a lady's face. And her face was burning and like half of it was like melting off. And I remember being like, was there a fire? Did he mention a fire? Because I keep seeing this woman with a burning face. Well, once I got home, I actually messaged him. The house across the street burnt down. And
we got so much fire stuff the entire night.
He said that house physically never had a fire, but where we were parked, like the front of the house directly across the street, he said that house had burnt down and he wasn't sure if there were any deaths, whether it was people or animal or anything else, but he confirmed it. And I still have it in a message because I just sent like the big eye emoji, like, are you serious? And he's like, you're the first person to mention, fire and burning. So I thought that was really cool because that was an experience that we had all gotten, and we're like, why do we keep getting fire, burning, seeing melting women? And the house across the street burnt down.
So much. Like it was, I mean, I think in every single room we had at least one word or one thing that was fire related.
Yeah. Talk about my favorite part, the landing. I mean, everything from the flashlights and the music box and the laser grid. I mean,
The thing that made Brian a believer.
yes, let's talk about all of that, and then we can call out Brian for. And you
I still have the video. I got it.
Yeah, so like I said, when you walk up these stairs, you kind of walk up and you make a turn, and then you walk up some more, and that wall is all glass, all windows.
Mm-hmm.
So when you're in the foyer, they had so when you walk up, it's kind of like a bigger square room, but there were 2 church pews.
Yeah.
And we had all been sitting on these pews. So you could see shadow play from downstairs, but we had cat balls coming up the stairs. We had 2, I think it was 2 motion sensors. If I forget anything, we had the music box in front of the door. We had the tripwire. We had cat balls upstairs.
Cat balls on the stairs.
And then we also had those 2 flashlights that I can never remember the name of them, but they're the flashlights that you just slightly turn them and they can turn on and off. And Kayla, Val, and I were sitting back, and at this point Brian had joined us because he was bored at home. So Kayla and I took a road trip real quick, minute down the road, I went and picked him up. And we had told him we were getting a lot of experiences. And of course, my husband is the biggest skeptic, and he's watching, so I can talk about him. But he does not believe in anything. I mean, nothing. And
the way his mind just changed, I'm like,
right. Well, so we're sitting there, and
this is the second time we were up there.
Yes, because because the first time is when we took a break and went and got Brian.
Because it got like really creepy, and they were like, something was like blocking us from going downstairs.
Yes, that's right. Because Val needed a break.
Yeah, because it started, whatever was up there, starting affecting Val so bad. Like she just did not feel well. Like she just had a really bad feeling, and we're like, hey, let's take another break.
Yeah.
So as soon as we mentioned just getting up and going downstairs, that music box went off, and I mean non-stop. And we hadn't had much activity with that until we mentioned leaving.
If you remember,
it was like, no.
But if you remember when Val said she was going downstairs because she needed a break, we saw the motion lights turn on, walking up the stairs. Upstairs. And then in that doorway, the music box just went crazy.
Oh, I'm getting chills just thinking about it again.
We're gonna have to post this footage on YouTube or something so everyone can see it. But yeah, and then when she sat down, it stopped.
And it happened again when Brian was there. Because we're like, hey, let's test the theory. And we didn't say what the theory was, but we all knew.
Yes.
Like, let's mention getting up and leaving.
So that's, yes, exactly.
Happened again. And it was like the tripwire
up there,
and the music box at the same time. And they were feet apart.
Well, and the best part were the flashlights. Because if you remember, we would say, okay, if it's a yes, turn on this flashlight. If it's a no, turn on that flashlight. And the lights would turn on, and we'd be like, oh, great, thank you so much. And I'll turn it off, and it would go off. Then on command. And one of the things I loved that you did, and this was probably like a solidifying moment for me where I'm like, I need this girl on my team because she's freaking bad ASS. You were sitting there and you're like, okay, all right, if it's really you, let's try something. And I'm like, ooh, I like where she's going with this. And you told it that if it was truly a spirit, that you wanted the music box to go off for 5 seconds straight. And you said, when you're ready, start
counting.
And it went on, and you counted to 5. And as soon as you said 5, the music box shut off. And I think at that point, Brian yelled, are you effing kidding me?
Lost it. That was all he had to see. And I still have his whole entire reaction when we went downstairs, and he's halfway through, he's like, are you still recording me? And I'm like, yeah, I'm not stopping this video. Like, I'm still going. All of this is exactly why we do what we do.
Yes. And I, like I said, I've been to some of these huge locations, and so have you. I mean, some of the locations you've been to are some that I haven't. And we both walked out of there that night and we're like, this is the most active location I've ever been to, but not in a scary way. And this is like a location I would take beginners to, because it was very, I mean, in the beginning, yes, you and I, we weren't feeling well, but
affected, but
yeah, but it was like once we started paying attention to it, that went away.
yeah.
So I don't know, because if you remember in the beginning, we were trying to ignore it because we were getting the
Hmm.
footsteps and the bangs and the doors slamming. And we're like, okay, we're going to ignore it. And we both got sick.
Yeah.
But once we started paying attention to it, both of
It
us
was
felt
done.
fine. We
It
felt
was done.
perfectly fine.
Mhm.
And for the record, neither one of us threw up or anything else. So
Nope.
it just went away. But those
Oh,
flashlights, the knocking on
yeah.
command, and then I'm like so
I have
excited.
flashlights for Saturday.
Do you? Oh, you'll have to send me videos. But even we had a laser grid up, guys, and we were all sitting on the side and you could see the grid getting blocked
Moving.
out in the hallway, in the doorway, down the hallway that was more of like the servant quarters. Um, you could see it get blocked out. And then we
I
had it
mean, the
set in
grid.
kind of. Go ahead.
Yeah, I think you're about to say it.
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
I was gonna say like the grid physically was like being moved off the chair. Like we just
Mhm.
heard rattling on it, and we're like, that sounds like something moving on the chair. So we looked, and yeah, I mean, it moved
Yeah.
a good bit. And I'm like,
Yeah.
go ahead, push it off.
Well, yeah, because we had it on a metal chair. And
Hmm.
I think it was Brian and Val that heard the chair rattling.
Hmm.
And we look, and every time we would hear it rattle, it was like a little closer to the edge. And I'm like,
Hmm.
and it was right next to us,
Hmm.
and it didn't care.
Nope,
Oh my gosh.
not at
Well,
all.
what about that room you were in with the cribs?
That room did not like, was not a fan. So we decide, it's communicating well when we're all together. But what happens if we spread out a little bit? So we each decided to take our own room, either sit in the doorway or sit further in the room. Well, I couldn't see from where I was at. My room had 2 doors in it, and it wasn't really laid out very well to the point where I couldn't see anything if I was to go all the way in the room. So I decided to be in the room, but also in the doorway. And then Val was across in the doorway. You guys were directly across where we slept that night. And then someone was in the scrying room. Candy was in the scrying room. And we're all sitting there and we're all investigating still. And all of a sudden I hear right in my ear, and I'm like, that's fine. That's fine.
I think I remember
then
you
I see
saying out loud.
That's my go-to.
I
just
think
like,
you
"That's
said
fine."
out loud, oh, this, okay, I'm good.
Shadows the entire time I was in that room. Something like not really necessarily pulled my hair, but it was like just a light touch.
It was
And
a
I'm like,
soft caress.
It was a soft caress, followed by another, and I'm like, what is happening? Shadows nonstop, just like pacing almost. And I'm like, I don't like this room. Something's in here with me. I am not the only person in here. I'm like, y'all getting anything in your rooms? Because this one's real active for me.
Well, and it's funny because you're right. Brian and I were directly across the hallway, or I guess the foyer, in a different room, with the 2 beds, and we were sitting on the windowsill because it kind of was like an old windowsill. That was more like a seat, kind of you see in the older houses.
Yeah.
And we're sitting there, and there was one of those flashlights on the ground, and I know Brian. If we're trying to get this stuff, we're used to sitting in the dark for hours and hours and hours and getting like a little knock. But for him, he's used to seeing the show. So it's almost like you kind of need that instant gratification. And it might have been you that asked a question and said, if yes, turn on the light. And as soon as that was said, that flashlight turned on. And he just looked at me and he was like, no way. And then we said, turn it off. And it shut off. And
instantly.
He was like, what? And that's when like we were getting things kind of happening, but I'm like, you know what?
It wasn't as good.
No, not when we were all together. And it really did not like us going downstairs, maybe because we were taking the breaks. But
Daisy's room though was pretty fun.
Okay, so that for me.
Ghostbusters. footsteps
Yes.
coming down the stairs. Oh my gosh.
What about the ones coming right up next to you and you just look at me like, is it behind me? And I was like, I don't know. So you guys, this house, I want to say it's from the 1800s, but don't quote me on that. I'm not 100% sure. But it has the beautiful wooden floors, like the real wooden floors. And, at one point, they call it Daisy's room. And she was an older woman who she had lost mobility to walk, and she had a call button because she needed help going to the bathroom, and she was bedridden for a long time. So they put her on the first floor, and it's called her room because she physically died in that room. So to kind of finish up the night, we decided we were going to go in there because we hadn't really investigated the first floor a lot. And, we were sitting there and we were doing a spirit box session and we were getting footsteps. Like Kayla said, I mean, it sounded like someone with heavy boots was walking down the main staircase. And you heard it kind of like turn the corner.
Mm-hmm.
But it never it didn't really come close. We just kept hearing it on the stairs. And at one point on the wood floors, poor Kayla has her back to the opening. Okay. And the opening that she has her back to goes into the parlor room where they used to display the coffins because it was a funeral home after it had been everything else. And she's sitting next to me and my back's against the wall so I can see kind of each doorway, I can see each hallway, things like that. And we all of a sudden hear these big footsteps, boom, 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 right behind Kayla. And the look on your face that you looked at me and you're like, is it behind me? I could not help but start dying because I was like, I don't think so, but
I watched the footage back from when we heard those huge footsteps. Brian goes, what the was that? And I jumped so high. I'm literally like, and my arms like for some reason like crossed. And I'm like, what am I about to do? Like ninja chop a ghost? Like, what is this? I don't know.
Hey, it would make for good TV. Paranormal karate.
Yeah, something. I don't know what I was doing, but I was like, that's fun. But I don't know why I decided to sit with my back open like that. I don't know. I get creeped out sometimes and like I like to really like push myself and like do some of the scary things. Like tomorrow when I go to Fairfield, like I was told I'm gonna be chained up to the chicken coop, alone. Like
Is somebody gonna film that?
I am.
Okay, we can use that for good promo footage for you.
Yeah. So and then they want to lock me downstairs in the morgue by myself. And I'm like, all right, let's do it. I don't care. So like, I like to push myself. And then like looking back, I'm like, why did I do that? Like sitting with my back open, like anything could go on behind me. And I'm like, you really don't think things through when you're investigating sometimes.
But I think it's a comfort level because we've talked multiple times about how we just instantly connected when we were there and we trusted each other. And that's true. When you go into these locations, you have to be with people that you trust because you do end up in like really weird situations where you're like, I'm going to sit in a closet in the dark and I want you to lock me in. Or, sitting in a cell by myself in solitary. You have to have those people that you trust where you're like, okay, if
let me out in 20 minutes.
Yeah, if things hit the fan, they're not going to run and leave me in here.
Right.
And watching you and some of the things you were doing, I think you had that trust level with all of us. We wouldn't have bailed on you. That's for sure.
Oh, I knew. Like I was almost to the point where like before Val did her scrying, like I was about to, just because I had that trust level with you. Scrying scares the crap out of me. I've seen people do it. I don't like it. You scared me doing it, but I'm like, you know what?
Sorry.
If I'm gonna, no, but it was like in a good way. You know what I mean? Like that's crazy. How did this work? And I was literally sitting there. I'm like, if I'm gonna try this, I'm gonna try it here with someone who knows what she's doing and like can protect me about everything going on. And like, I almost did it. And then Val had her experience, and I'm like, maybe I'm not.
Yeah. And, we won't go into too much detail. We'll tell a little bit. But so when I was scrying, like I said, I had seen figures and shadows moving behind me, and they were all going in Kayla's direction. And like I said, we did have that justification because we saw the curtains moving. And when we saw that, Kayla got up and she checked for air, airflow, drafts. We checked to see if there were any vents, and there weren't. And it was weird because they would move in a sequence as if somebody was walking past them. And we had it happen in more than one room. And it was like, it would go one way. And then I would say, I just saw somebody walk, behind me, and it would go the other way. And I had, like I said, I had seen that lady, her face melting and the burns and things like that. And then my entire body blacked out, and it was just looking at a solid black figure. And then when Val wanted to do it, she had a very traumatic experience.
Yeah.
Like I said, I won't go into too much detail, but one of the things that she did see where she had to stop and kind of come out of it was she saw like a figure with a really long face and these giant teeth with its mouth open. And I mean, and it was scary for her that she had to stop. She had to pull herself out of it. And we went and sat outside for about 15 minutes to kind of get everything, get her pulled back together, which I don't understand because I never felt threatened from the house. I never felt like we were going to get harmed. Like I said, I felt sick, but never anything more than that.
Because you can definitely feel when it's like something like negative or, you have that feeling like, stuff is happening. Like, that's crazy. Or, you get touched and you're like, cool. But it's not in an aggressive or like harmful way. Like when I was sleeping, I got my foot grabbed and everyone's like, what'd you do when you got your foot grabbed? I was like, kicked my foot and turned the other way and went back to bed. They're like, how? And I'm like, I was tired. I don't know.
For the record, I was an awful friend that night. And I went and I slept at my in-laws and left her there in the house to sleep.
It was fine. I mean, I checked off a huge bucket list.
Yeah.
Sleeping in my first haunted location.
And
the first time I did it, my foot got grabbed.
Well, I did that in New Orleans, and I see that Vince jumped on. And, I was in New Orleans at the haunted hotel with Vince and Val and a bunch of other people. And I was checked into the most haunted, or so they say, the most haunted room in the hotel. And it was, 4:00 in the morning, I'm trying to sleep and my bed is shaking. And when I told people that, they're like, what do you say? I was like, leave me alone. That's what I said. I'm like, leave me alone. I'm trying to sleep. And it would stop. I mean, I know people make it so scary, but it's really just them trying to get your attention.
That's all it is. And I don't know if I even told you this, but I woke up in the middle of the night. Like, it took me a long time for like my anxiety of doing it for the first time, like, to calm down. I'm like, dude, you're fine. Shut up. It's just a house. There's something here. Like, you're fine. Nothing's going to happen. Just go to bed. Long time for me to go to bed. I don't think I actually fell asleep until after 6 and we woke up at like 9. But I ended up waking up during the night, and this was like before I got my foot grabbed. And I looked over at that windowsill that you guys were sitting on, and there's just something staring. I'm like,
no, you didn't tell me this.
Yeah. Just hanging out, staring at us, watching us sleep. And I literally say out loud, I'm like, listen, I know we're invading your home right now. We're in your space. I appreciate that you've talked to us all night. We just need a few hours of sleep. We will be out of your hair in just a few hours. Like, thank you for sharing your space with us, pretty much. Because I'm like, let me sleep, please.
Yeah. Well, and the funny thing is, when we were there, I felt like the house was just so massive that we really didn't investigate the entire house. There were just like certain portions. So I 100% want to go back. I know you want to go back.
Yeah.
And because we never got to the basement. And
never got to the basement, never got to the attic.
We never even did the servant quarters.
No.
And even when the owner was showing us around, he said that he was looking to change shades. But the shades in the house were really kind of weird, and he wanted to change them all. And there were 2 windows outside that he could not figure out where these windows were. And he said for hours he was outside the house measuring where trying to figure out where these windows were. He'd go inside and he couldn't find them. they ended up finding 2 windows behind like drywall.
The
Like
walls.
these people had put walls up over the windows, which I found was odd. And then even when he kind of took it down a little bit, the angles of the wall, I feel like there's something more there. I
Yeah.
think he's going to find more the more that he tears down. But then the basement, he said that, there was somebody or something down there
A
that would,
biter.
yes, that would bite
And
men.
you bite men and scratch women.
Yes. And we never
Yeah.
got down there. And I wanted to go in that hallway back into that kind of like brick, kind of
Yeah.
moist room back there. I wanted to do
Nice.
solos. I wanted us to do solos back there, or to do
I'm always down for a
Estes.
solo. I love Estes too. I'm
Don't tell me
literally down
that.
I'm down for anything. Like I said, I'm physically being chained up to a coop and a wall tomorrow. Like,
That's awesome. I
throw
cannot
it
wait
at
to
me.
see that. Yeah, so why don't you tell everybody where you're going tomorrow, and then a little bit about where you guys are going on Saturday, because that one's only about an hour from my house, so I'm excited for you guys.
Yeah. So tomorrow I'm going to Fairfield County Infirmary, which is literally so close to me. Like, it's going to be great. And it's a public event. So, like, anyone can go as long as you have tickets. I don't know if they're sold out anymore. Um, but it's a convention this weekend. So I decided, let's go get tickets. So I'll be there Friday. And then some of the day on Saturday. And then Saturday night, we're going to Landall's Mohican Castle.
Mhm.
I don't know much about that place, like, at all. They were just like, hey, do you want to go? And I'm like, yeah, let's go.
So
Haunted? I'm there.
So yeah, that's the question. Is it haunted? Yeah. So I try
Sure.
not to do a lot of research until after the fact, because I like to go into locations without a like preconceived notion. If somebody said, "Oh, you go in this room and you're going to hear a girl screaming," I feel that the brain is a very powerful tool, and it can almost, you already have these ideas of what's supposed to happen. And it's like you go in that room and you can kind of manifest it yourself. So I love going into locations not knowing. And that's why the whole fire thing, like when I told him, yeah, we kept getting a lot about fire. And he said that, it's just justification that what you were getting was
Blows your
real.
mind.
Yes,
Yeah.
it's incredible. But you guys have to let me know how Friday and Saturday go. I'm so excited for you. It's going to be fun.
I'm upset you can't be there.
That's okay. We have a lot more that
We have a lot coming for us.
we do. And speaking of that, why don't you, since you're kind of like our social media guru, why don't you kind of tell everybody what we've got coming up in the plans?
What we got going?
Yeah, and what you started so far.
Oh my God, there's a lot. So we created a YouTube channel, Haunted Travels Paranormal. We created a Twitter, and I think everything's under the same name, Haunted Travels Paranormal. We got an Instagram up and running. You guys already had the Facebook page. And we also have a Discord server, which Ashley did not know about. And that is how I really got involved in the community. Like, I've watched a bunch of paranormal YouTube, and to the guys that I watch on there, they're like, yeah, join our Discord. And I'm like, I don't know what a Discord is, but sure, sounds fun. Instantly hooked. Instantly got involved. That's how I met Vince. That's how I met Renee, who's on the chat. I've met so many people. Marina was here. Tyler was here. All these people that are joining the chat, like, that's how I met them. So I'm like, it's a good way to get our community involved. And, just bring everyone together. And it's not even like for just paranormal. Like, you can talk about anything in there. But we have a Discord server. You already have the TikTok, so we have literally all the social medias covered. Everything.
Yeah, so
I just haven't posted yet because we haven't been like back together yet. So I'm like, oh, wait.
Yeah, we do. We have lots of footage we have to go through and edit and kind of get up there. And, I think we're going to try to do it a little different. I don't think, until our skills are really honed in, we're going to give you guys just the best parts of the clips. We're not going to have episodes and these full long things. We're just going to be like, hey, this happened and this happened, and here's our reaction. And more than likely, Brian's going to make the YouTube channel. Got to get him to sign a release or something with his reaction. And I see Val just jumped in. She can kind of back us up that, Brian came in like, oh, this is fake, and left like a
Full
believer.
blown.
And even in the comments talking about it, he just said he wants to go back with us. So
Yeah.
it had to at least be that good.
Right.
And
he needs to come to more with us because he was a lot of fun.
he
Just
would.
showing how skeptic he was, and like his reactions was like incredible. And he was like, how do you guys not react? And we're like, we're expecting the reaction. We want that to happen.
Yeah.
This is what we do. And
Like,
he was
we
like,
sat in for hours asking for
Right.
this to happen.
right. And I mean, that location, it had him mind blown.
hmm
Mind blown. And I mean, I probably have 3 minutes of him explaining, like, you guys just want to make fun of me. I mean, a little. I just remember the first thing he said when we got downstairs in the film was, all right, you guys win. You're right. You win. You were right. And I'm like, yeah.
We're like, yeah, we did. And I
This
have
is
to
what we
tell you,
do.
for him to say that to you is huge, because there's another location I want to take you to in Fremont. For it being such a tiny town, it has so much history and some really, really cool places. But they also have the historical prison and underground dungeons.
Oh,
And
yeah, that's right.
yes, and this courthouse has or I should say, it has the gallows that was used in the last execution in Sandusky County. So it's so cool. And the underground dungeon, it did imprison people, and the cells. I mean, I'm not a small girl, but I'm not like a big girl.
You're
But
a
I
small
had
girl.
no,
You're
but I had
small.
to turn sideways and kind of like to get
Squeeze
into the
yourself in,
cells.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, because they were just, I don't understand how men fit in these things.
Right.
And while we were down there, there was a time where the dungeons, they kind of split into two different sections, and Brian and I were on one side, and one of my best friends, Katie Peak, and Brian's best friend, Aaron, were on the other side investigating. And we didn't realize that they had left. So Brian and I were down there, and one of the stories is that one of the men, the very last person that visited him before he was killed or before he was executed, was his son. And I believe his son was 7 or 8 years old, and he had stolen his pocket knife and killed himself that way. Brian said he had to butter his biscuits to fit into the holes, which you do. You gotta lather up like a baby slug. I'm not sure. But so
why do I picture him saying this in person now? I've met him once.
Because that's who he is.
I just know.
That's who he is.
I just know.
But so this man, he stole his son's pocket knife and he killed himself that night. So I was trying to communicate with this guy, and it just was not working. But he had committed a crime against a woman. He had killed her. So we tried something different. We had Brian go in there, and we're like, that's our friend, by the way, for anybody wondering why Justin said Brian has nice biscuits. Sorry. Oh, gotta love our friends.
Fabulous comment.
That is hilarious, Justin. So Brian goes in there and he starts talking, and he's like, I have a son too, and I couldn't imagine having to say goodbye and blah, blah, blah. And when we come out, I'm standing in front of Brian, but he's kind of like looking off to the side, and he's talking. And all of a sudden he looks back at me and just screams, "Holy F-U-C-K." And I'm like, what? Like, are you okay? And he grabs his chest. I'm like, great, he's having a heart attack. Like, how am I going to get him out of here? And what he said is that he saw like me, and he thought he was talking to me because it's dark down there. So it's more like a silhouette,
Right.
But he thought it was me, and he was talking. And then when he turns, I'm standing in front of him, and it freaked him out. Okay. Even after that, when we left, it was a few weeks later, he's like, I don't know what I saw. They were just, my eyes were messing with me. It was dark.
Yeah.
So for him to tell you changed my mind.
Brian,
you
drop in
succeeded.
the comments real quick if you're still a believer. And if you're not, I'm kidnapping you on Saturday and you're coming with me. Drop it in the comments. Come on. I need to know. Because if he's not a believer, I'm going to need your address.
She's going to chain you to something not in a sexual way to make you a believer.
Correct. I believe.
There we go. You guys hear it first, or technically
We
second.
made a believer.
That should be our ammo. Haunted Travels, make a believer
We
out
make
of you.
believers.
Brian can be like our poster child on the banner with his face like.
We have so many memes that we could create with his face on video, honestly. Like,
You better be careful. He's going to ask for pay.
That's right, yeah. I just kept like panning the camera to him, and I'm like, this is going to be good. Because he's like, there's no way. There's no way. This isn't real. This isn't happening. And then downstairs, he was like, you win.
Yeah.
That happened.
It's crazy. But unfortunately, we are getting a little close to our time. It has been so much fun talking to you. I cannot wait to get out and investigate with you again and to see, just as a team, what we've got going on. You know, now that we have Haunted Travels, it's me, Kayla, and Jason Baker, who does
phenomenal work.
He is an urbanaxer. He does photography. He does videography. He flies a drone better than I've ever seen. I mean, he just has incredible work altogether. Yeah. So I'm really excited to see what the three of us can do. But with that, tell everybody where they can find you, where they can find us, and kind of what they can expect from you alone. I mean,
oh boy, from me
sell
alone?
Yourself, girl, sell it.
So my handles on all social media is going to be Kay, and then my last name, Sellitto. Sell it too. Fun fact. Great to meet you too, Bill. Thanks for watching. Same thing with Haunted Travels. It's all going to be Haunted Travels Paranormal on all social medias. We try to keep it same, keep it, accessible to everyone. And that's why I changed all my socials to the same thing, because you start getting people who are like, I can't find you. Mm-hmm. But with Haunted Travels, I mean, we have a lot of ideas.
We do.
I mean, we have locations we want to hit. We got bucket list locations that we've been dreaming of going to. We have collabs that we want to get going, and I'm not going to spoil it because, like, I can't. That's something that, like, it's huge.
A couple of them are in the chat already.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I am going with 2 tomorrow.
You are, yes.
Yeah. But, I mean, just expect, like, all things paranormal, honestly. Like our motto is now, we make believers out of you. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and we're going to do everything from, we're going to do some experiments. We're going to try new things. We're going to push our limits. We're going to,
and we want to stand out.
We do. We're going to dabble in the Ouija and the witchcraft and the pendulums and the paranormal. And
all the things.
Kayla's like, I don't know what I signed up for. But, and even, more than just ghosts, who knows? You might see us looking for the Jersey Devil or fairies or whatever. Paranormal is such a large umbrella that
it is.
We really could look for anything. And my dad's in the chat. He's going to want us to look for freaking Bigfoot and Sasquatch.
We're going to find him.
If we do, we're going to be millionaires.
Exactly.
But
we're finding Bigfoot.
For anybody that's looking for Kayla, she is tagged in all of the Realm of Darkness stuff for tonight. She's on my Facebook, so go friend her, follow her, and I mean, all I can say.
Subscribe to her YouTube.
Yeah, she's going to have a lot of awesome stuff she's going to be putting out, and just watch because we're going to rock the hell out of this. So you guys be ready.
I got good feelings, real good feelings.
And with that, next week we are on a station break, so I will not be on. But the following week I will be on with the UNI team with Katie Peak and John Griffin. They're going to be talking about a new project that we have been filming for quite some time. Very interesting, very emotional, kind of hits you in the heart a little bit. So you guys don't want to miss that. But until 2 weeks, I hope everyone has a great weekend, a great 2 weeks. And I will see you soon. And Kayla, thank you so much for joining me. You've been so much fun. I love you, and I cannot wait to see you in person.
I know. It's going to be too long until then.
It is. But I'll send virtual hugs. But for that, everyone have a great night, and I will see you in 2 weeks.
Bye, guys. Thanks for tuning in.
The truth is here and now on WLTK-DB Talk Radio at WLTK-DB.com.